Alright, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be doing the conversions from radians to degrees and degrees to radians. So if you start off with a radian and want to get it to degrees, what you're going to do is multiply whatever angle you have in radians, multiply it by 180 divided by pi. And if you have a degree of an angle and you want to make it radians, what you're going to do is you're going to multiply it by pi divided by 180. Alright, so I have a couple questions on the screen now, which we'll go over. And if you want to try them all by yourself before we take them up, then take a second and pause the video to do them now. I hope you had time to look them over. So what we're going to start off with is A. So all of these are going to be degrees to radians. So if you remember from the last screen, what we're going to do is we need to multiply all of them by pi divided by 180. So the first one is going to be 250 multiplied by pi over 180. This will give us either 25 divided by 18 pi, or, depending on what your teacher wants, approximately 4.36. Next up, we have negative 360. So for this one, it's either negative 2 pi, or it's going to be approximately negative 6.28. Question C will be either 16 over 45 pi, or approximately 1.12. And negative 4 is going to be either negative 1 over 45 pi, or approximately negative 0.07. So for these next ones, they're all pretty similar, but what's different between degrees and radians is it will follow the same circle, but for this, instead of it being 360, let's say this is a perfect circle, we'll split up into 4 different quadrants. So this will be 90 degrees, this will be 180 degrees, and this will be 270 degrees. The difference between this and radians is when this is in radians, this number, instead of being 90, will become pi divided by 2. 180 will become pi. 270 degrees will be 3 pi divided by 4. And 360 degrees will become 2 pi. So this is going to be a lot more popular when you're working with sine and trigonometry, because when you're talking in sine form, you'll say sine of pi to get a number, or sine of something to get a number. Instead of sine of a degree, we say sine of a radian. So now we'll go back to question E, which is going to be 32 degrees, which will multiply by pi divided by 180 to give us 8 over 45 pi, or it will give us approximately 0.56. So for this next one, we're going to go into the more proper form and the more accurate form, which will be a fraction multiplied by pi. So there's no rounding needed. So we'll have negative 19 over 20 pi. And we'll follow the same steps for the last ones. We'll have 5 pi for this one, and for our last one, we're going to have negative 87 divided by 20 pi. Alright, now we have the other half, which is the radians to degrees. So if you want some time to look them over, go ahead now, and we'll come back in a second. Okay, I hope you had time to look it over a little bit, and we're going to try the questions now. So if you remember from before, what we need to do to go from radians to degrees is we need to multiply it by 180 divided by pi. So to start, we're going to have negative 11 divided by 6 pi multiplied by 180 divided by pi, which will give us negative 330 degrees. We know from that pi over 2 is going to be a little special one, because if you remember from before, pi over 2 is just going to be 90 degrees. So if I had to say there was 4 degrees and radians to remember for sure, it's going to be these 4 right here. If you remember these 4, when you do trigonometry, this will speed it up a lot for you. So we know that this is going to be 90 degrees. Question 3 is going to be negative 31 multiplied by pi divided by 18. So following the same steps, we're gonna get negative 310 degrees. Now we got negative 3 pi over 10, which will give us negative 54 degrees. Now we got question E, which is going to be 43 pi divided by 60, which will give us 129 degrees. We got negative 5 pi divided by 12, which will give us negative 75. Our second last one is going to be 7 pi divided by 3, which will give us 420 degrees. And finally, we have 4 pi, which is going to be another special one, because if you remember from our chart in our circle before, we have 360 is equal to 2 pi. Well, 2 pi is just half of 4 pi. So we know that it's just going to be 360 multiplied by 2, which is going to be 720. And because there's a negative sign, we'll keep that there. So our answer will be negative 720 degrees.